News as it happens from the University of Calgary. U of C. This is Now.
We've gotten a lot of reports of what seems to be a natural fireball. A little bit unusual in that the trajectory seems to have been quite flat in the sky. From Calgary, it would be east-southeast of us in the morning twilight and moving from left to right or north to south.
Unusual? I mean, for any other reasons in terms of the size or the glare?
I doubt if it was, very big. One eyewitness who saw it took a picture of the dust clouds left behind. The dust clouds were reported persisting for about 20 minutes. So, on the basis of seeing those pictures that he took of it, I would say the object was something like 10 kilograms to 100 kilograms, so size of your head to, say, size of a small suitcase. Something like that, falls on Canada somewhere, let's say, once a week. So, not extraordinarily unusual, but certainly unusual enough if, it's the one you happen to see this morning.
Is there any chance that it's not a meteor? It was, some reports was that it was moving a little slower than most meteors would move in the sky, but that can depend on the perspective that you're looking at it from. So what's your take on that?
I would think it was a natural object because man-made debris, when it enters, usually covers a lot of the sky. There are also horizontal trajectories, but this one is described as 5 or 6 seconds, say. If it's artificial debris, they'll cover the whole sky and last for tens of seconds. And the type of dust cloud left behind isn't what I would expect for artificial material either. So it certainly seems like it was natural.
Are these things you say once a week perhaps falling? Do we not see them? Are they falling during the day, for example? Would you necessarily see something like that in daylight hours?
Well, okay, it's a good point. A bright sunny day, a fireball has to be a lot bigger for people to notice it. Other thing, of course, is when we have cloudy weather, the fireballs could be happening, but we would never notice them. For example, the month of January this year was quite clear, and we had quite a few fireballs reported. The month of March has really been quite cloudy, so we have not had very many. So that's really the difference, the kind of weather we're having. There was certainly light cloud distributed across Alberta and Saskatchewan this morning, and the cloud was thick to the west, but even with the light cloud, many people could see this fireball, through the thin clouds.
Are we more attuned? Sorry, just one more question. Are we more attuned to these kinds of sightings because of the one that we saw in November?
I'd say certainly more people are aware of fireballs, and that people are interested in researching them, so they should report them. But in general, I think more people are aware of space. It's been growing, I would say, for decades, and so people are more likely to report things. But having a big one with a meteorite fall like that certainly doesn't hurt.
Do you mind if, Alan, I just bring you a little bit this way?
Okay, sure.
I don't want to shift it too much for you guys. Just a slight shift would help out a little bit. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Well, just tell me where to look, and I'll look there.
How does that work for you? Okay.
Okay.
Alan, can you tell me what this asteroid or meteorite would have had to go through as it's hitting the atmosphere? Just describe some of the forces that the Earth would be pushing up against it.
Well, it's a wild ride. They're going on average something like 20 kilometers a second when they hit the atmosphere. And, they slow down to essentially zero in a matter of 5 or 8 seconds. So, you work out the kind of G-forces that is. It's substantial, and of course that's why they break up into pieces and so on. So then, of course, that's why we get all the light. They've got all that kinetic energy to scrub off, and for us that equals a light show.
Would any of that thing have made it to the ground?
I would say there might be a few meteorites out there, but literally like half a dozen. One of the witnesses did describe, of course, seeing the fireball, then it broke into pieces, and then he saw some of the, in particular one piece, turn red and continue on for a bit. So that's the signature we look for. That's a rock slowing down and surviving. So I would expect on the basis of that, a few meteorites might have fallen, but looking for literally just 5 rocks is a lot tougher than looking for 5,000, which would be the case with the bright fireball we had last November 20.
Any idea where they would have come down if on the trajectory they were following?
So far, I would say we don't know well where it occurred. We know it was east of Calgary, I would guess hundreds of kilometers, but I don't know how far east yet. Naturally, if we get some witnesses, say from Brooks or Medicine Hat, they'll help nail that down, but because people saw it in Saskatoon or Regina, I would think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of the border between the provinces.
Is the fact that it was over the eastern sky, prairies versus the Rockies, for instance, that there's a better chance of recovering whatever did fall?
Certainly having a fall in the prairies is easier to find the mountains just because most of the prairies are cultivated. So, of course, if it landed in someone's field and they happen to be rock picking this spring and there's a piece big enough they pick it up, well, someone might find it. Naturally, not much of the prairies is buildings or whatever, but of course it's conceivable too that a piece fell in somebody's dooryard or through their shed roof.
So describe what people should be looking for. What would this look like?
Most meteorites are rocks which are a bit denser than the average rock, usually covered with a dark gray or a black crust. They have a sculpted surface like modeling clay with thumbprints in it. Most meteorites, not all, will attract a magnet. Of course, in this case, if this afternoon someone's, going into a corral or walking somewhere they haven't been, there's snow around, there's a rock lying on top of the snow, that's certainly a clue that it might be a fallen meteorite.
Any pictures of the lights from the fireball?
So far, none of our all-sky operators have checked to see if they recorded this fireball. Actually, they're at work today, so they won't be checking till this evening. One witness who saw it did go back to his house and grab a camera and took some pictures of the dust clouds. So that's the only imagery we have so far. But to drive back, so it took him a few minutes, so the dust trail is already a bit distorted. So on the basis of how much dust I can see, I'm estimating that kind of mass range.
What's a dust cloud?
Well,
The trail that it leaves?
yeah, when the rock's going through the air, of course, the surface is melting and it's leaving, particles of melted rock behind that condense to little dust grains. And of course, some of it crushes too, and so you literally just get this line of dust in the sky. Buzzard Coulee, the one last November, left a dust trail too.
So just to clarify, this is nothing close to what happened last November then in your estimation?
No, Buzzard Coulee, the rock that came into the atmosphere, was something like 10 tons, and so that would be 100 or 1,000 times more massive than this object. And obviously the little ones happen more frequently, so something like Buzzard Coulee, the province of Saskatchewan, is like a once-in-century event, whereas the event this morning would happen certainly several times a year, maybe even once a month, let's say.
I'm good.